Hello, folks. That's a reference to a different podcast. If you know that, leave it in the comments, and I'm not going to give you anything, but that's a fun podcast to listen to. I don't know what to call you guys, dude. Nerds, dudes, gentlemen. It's 99% male, according to YouTube analytics. But welcome to another episode of KANODE Knows, brought to you by Dig BMX. This week on the show, we got Casey Badger. Casey Badger is not just an Arizona legend, he's kind of a legend in his own right in BMX in general. I'd say he has probably the best X-Ups I've ever seen because they're fully corked. Oh, hey, there's him right there. He came over and we chatted for a couple hours about his journey in BMX, his current life, his work that he does outside of BMX in the production field, which is super interesting. And he's just a chill-ass, fun dude. I have known him for, over a decade, but never really sat down and talked to him like this. So I enjoyed it. I hope you enjoy it too. Shout out to Casey for coming over, making this happen. And it got cut a little bit short because we were late for a local video contest, which was super fun. Shout out to Zach Beerley for putting that on for the Phoenix scene. Before we get into it, please like, subscribe, hit the bell notifications. Let's help Dig's YouTube channel grow, and mine too. I don't care which one you watch it on, but maybe go and support both of our channels. And leave a review. That is helpful big time in getting organic reach out there for people to listen to the show. If you want to get your health right, I got a promo code for RAR Superfoods, which is a green superfood. It's a powder that you drink. If you've heard of Athletic Greens, it's very similar to that, but it's owned by John Mata and Joey Mata, so support small businesses and go use the promo code KANODE at checkout for 15% off. And I think just adding that into your daily life honestly helps get the ball rolling on getting a lot healthier. So there's that. And yeah, big ups to Casey, big ups to Dig. And without further ado, let's just get into it, man. Casey Badger. Oh, hello, Casey Badger. Get your mic over there, dude. Talk into that thing. Yeah, we could just do the whole thing from right here. Well, hi, Casey.
Hi, Bobby.
Why are you in town? Why are you in Phoenix? You live in Oregon now.
Yeah, I come back for one of my best friend's weddings. It's on Sunday.
Hell yeah. I think I know that best friend.
Mm-hmm.
I like
Big Andy.
Big Andy, dude. Love Andy.
The fucking man.
I don't think I've ever met his fiance or wife on Sunday.
Oh yeah, her name is also Casey.
Casey?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's your fun.
It's funny. So Andy officiated my wedding.
No shit.
He called me quesadilla in the wedding.
In the wedding.
Because he was so fucking nervous.
Yeah.
And so Billy and I last night painted a thing that's like you put, like the Taurus things where you put your head through a different image.
Yeah.
Andy was like, I want a skinny cowboy holding a fat girl, right?
Yeah.
And so I put on it like Andy plus Casey forever. And I was like, I should put quesadilla on there instead of Casey. And I was like, I can't do that to her though. Like, it's not her fault.
True.
Andy.
Yeah. Andy ruined my wedding. I'll get him back.
Right.
I've been scheming this for 4 years. Oh,
People don't forget.
Never forget. We were talking before we hit record about a project that brought you down here that happened before this wedding stuff. And it was super interesting, so I kind of want to get into that again. So, tell me about the what company did you say it was? Red Bull?
No, it wasn't a Red Bull. It was I don't know if I can say the name. It's
secret.
It's a mountain bike wheel company.
Okay.
I would say. Yeah, I just basically I do work for a production company called Modify Content, which we did Red Bull Dreamline, we did Tyler Finagle's Silverdome project, we did snowmobile events, and do some mountain bike stuff, like cool Red Bull projects plus some other stuff, and the other things that pay the bills, like a golf brand and Nike, everybody else in Portland. And yeah, we do a lot, and we try to do the fun stuff. The fun stuff is like what gets us excited, I guess. But I have a photographer friend in Portland who's comes from skateboarding. He's John Humphreys, who he's literally the fucking man in the skateboard photography world. He got hired on this job, and basically he reached out to them and was like, hey, you need to just hire Casey. Like, he comes from this world. He can really help direct this fill in the blanks because you guys don't have any backing in this, and you don't really know how to fulfill this job. And so they kind of hired me on as like, help produce it / be like, I think my title was technically like course designer, which is kind of hilarious because I don't design the course. But I mean, just knowing that world and knowing bikes, and I got Aaron Bostrom hired on to like actually do the building. He would actually be the course designer, I know how to speak the language between the creative director for the agency, all the producers, the client side, and then obviously I can relate to the athletes.
Yeah.
And I know I can look at what they're trying to do and like kind of help the athlete come up with what they want to ride. So yeah, we did that. The story was pretty funny on the first site check. So one of the athletes is Mitch Ropalato. He's a Ropalato. Mitch Ropo. He's a pretty entertaining mountain bike dude.
Okay.
As much as that pains me to say. No,
we hate mountain bikes, especially on this podcast.
Around on the mountain bikes. But he's fucking awesome, and he's like, you could tell he like rode BMX basically. Like you can look at a mountain bike and go, oh yeah, you didn't just ride mountain bikes, right? For real. But yeah, we're out doing the site check, and it's at this like abandoned airplane graveyard, basically, or not abandoned, but it's just like I was laughing that it was like pick and pull, but for airplane parts. Like it's literally just junkyard, but it's all giant airplanes.
Legitimately, is it like a pick and pull for airplanes?
Yeah, I think they do like a lot of Hollywood set stuff. He was saying like Con Air was filmed out there, and like some B movies and shit. Like. Excuse me.
So there's one of those plane graveyards here, but also you were talking about this one was.
This one was in the Mojave Desert, so kind of like behind Riverside almost. But yeah, we're doing the site check, and Mitch was like very like he didn't know us at all, like he'd never met any of us, and he's with like his basically team manager, or like he's the director of marketing for that company. And we're all like, maybe you can do this, or maybe you can do this, and and I'm wearing a kink shirt, and I had like an Odyssey beanie on, and he's like, you ride BMX? And I'm like, yeah, I ride BMX. And he's like, oh, that's cool. Like I used to ride BMX. I'm like, yeah, I could tell. But I did my homework. I watched your videos. You look good on a mountain bike. And we're going, and he's kind of like, you could see him like kind of putting pieces together as we're like talking about stuff. And he's like, where do you live? And I'm like, I live in Portland now, but I'm from Phoenix. And he's like, a kink dude just moved from Phoenix to Portland like not too long ago, like maybe like a couple years ago. He's like, I think it was Sexton. I was like, nah, Sexton lives in like Dallas now. And he's like, no, it wasn't Sexton. It was, and I look over, and Humphreys is like holding back this laugh, he's like, because he knows what it's coming. And he's like, it was Casey Badger. And I was like, I'm Casey. And then like instantly from that, he was like, holy shit. Like we did a kink trip to Salt Lake years ago, and he's like, I watched you and Doyle like walk through the park, like into Layton. And he's like, I was like a 13-year-old BMX kid, like, so he's like, I just looked around and I found like the biggest thing that I knew how to do. And he's like, he threed this crazy gap at Layton, which is like, it's hard to even jump this thing, and he threed it, and he was this little kid, and I'm like, I fully remember that. Like,
hell yeah.
And I was like, that was you? And he's like, yeah. But that alone, like from that minute on, he was like, it like gained his trust in that, like we knew what he could do and wanted to do, and it like helped the whole shoot out, like
that's dope.
He could speak the language. And
can you share like what kind of, because I'm picturing mountain bikes at a airplane graveyard, and I'm not sure.
I mean, honestly, it was, this shoot was mountain biking, but to Shad Johnson's argument, like BMX is in a wheel size, like it was a BMX shoot at an airplane graveyard. Sick. Like we built a big hip, like he wall rode the side of a giant plane.
Dope. That's what I was asking. Like
yeah, he did like
another
big hip that he jumped over, like basically like these stacks of planes that were stacked up.
Yeah.
And Jill Kittner, who is Paul Kittner for everybody that remembers him from Building the Underground and old S&M dude, Pacific Northwest, but Jill Kittner's his sister. She's not even arguably the best female cyclist. I would even put her at any level. Like she's like 12-time world champ.
No shit.
Like queen of Crankworks like 5 times. Like
sick.
She's a boss, you know, but
she was in it too.
She was in that too. And so we were like finding setups. Like there was a whole like 747 that was like on its side, and so she like rode down the wing, like
nice.
The whole wing. It was super steep, and she's like a cool step down like off of the nose of an airplane.
That's dope.
Yeah, it was super fun. Like, and it was, you know, very produced, you know, like had a whole grip team and lights and, you know, like,
is there somebody hitting a slate for every shot?
Well, no slate. Like, motion kind of wrapped around the, you know, it was like still emphasis with, you know, motion was their deliverables were very small, but still, like, I mean, you know, that world, like, it's hard to put them both in the same space, especially at night. Like, lighting is so different. But I mean, they figured it out. Like,
that's dope.
From what I saw, it all looked good. We didn't get to watch all of the filming or riding. We were kind of like building ahead of what they were going to be doing or moving shit around. But yeah, I mean,
you got it done. Sounds like you were the producing translator.
Yeah, totally. Like, BMX,
blending the worlds. Yeah. It's wild how, like, you know, it's not like they're out of touch. They're just kind of ignorant to, I guess, the culture is a weird way to like phrase it. Corporate, creative people, and then, you know, bridging the gap to someone who just rides bikes and has been doing that forever. Like Ropo.
I mean, it's crazy. Obviously, like we are hypersensitive to any of that stuff because this is our life. You know, like, and I mean that when I say life, like all of us, I feel like to a better part, like this is what we live for, right? So like anything that doesn't represent us in the best possible light instantly gets clowned. So, you know, to a creative director that comes from this big agency, like BMX is the smallest, weirdest world. Like, why he doesn't need to care about it at all. Like he did for the shoot, but that's what he hires people like us for. You know, like luckily there are people like us that are infiltrated into these worlds, you know, like
that's dope. Let's talk about infiltrating into that world. Well, like I do. Basically, you're Casey Badger. You rode for Kink for a long time. I would imagine anybody listening already kind of knows who you are. But let's talk about your transition from being a pro rider to your next job. Like, how did you get out of it, and what was your like first step in infiltrating the you know, production, corporate, basically things that pay money type of work?
I mean, I'll say I still don't really make money because I still just do the things that I like
fishing,
to do.
Baby.
Fishing. No, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, the fishing thing is interesting because I fished when I was a kid with my dad a lot. My dad passed away when I was 18. I completely quit fishing. And then, you know, I was like 30 or maybe a little bit before that, like 28 or something. And I went on a camping trip, like went to my mom's, got all my fishing stuff and was like, why the fuck did I stop doing this? And then like literally like it's like bike riding to a 13-year-old, right? Like it just takes over your life. So it's like any moment I could, I'd be going fishing or I'd be reading about fishing. I'd be like learning how to tie flies again. And it was a weird combination of like sentimental stuff from my childhood plus like, you know, my passion shifting out of bikes, which I didn't think that anything could ever shift out of bikes, you know, fully. And all of that like encompassed into this weird world that I thought was completely different from bikes, but it's not. Like it's literally basically the same thing with a different medium, so to speak.
Right.
But yeah, I just started doing that a lot, and like that kind of like bikes did for me just naturally progressed into me like getting sponsored by a fishing company and like going on trips and like it was a very natural, like I didn't try for that to happen. I didn't try for anything in bikes to happen. I mean, maybe to my fault. It was just, everything was just very natural and organic for how my life has worked out, you know, like not saying that I didn't like try is a weird word, but like I wasn't like, that wasn't my goal for anything.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
I'm going to become a sponsored fisher.
Yeah, exactly.
Fisherman.
Like when I was a kid, like of course every kid's like, I want to be a sponsored bike rider. But like at the end of the day, like sponsored or not, I was going to be doing it anyways, you know, like. But yeah, the fishing stuff kind of took off. And then, you know, with that, like I started getting the work through Modify, which at the time was Becomco. Like I helped him do Dreamline builds.
That's so sick.
And kind of like learned a little bit of that. Like Paul Williams, who's actually from Phoenix too. Like he's one of my best friends and he owns the company. And he kind of like, you know, he's like, you have all these weird skill sets. Like you're really valuable to us in a lot of this stuff, like because I have an art background, so I kind of help with like the creative concepting stuff, like I storyboard out all the shoots and you know, like and again, like with a lot of this stuff, like I have a weird knowledge and skill set that applies to this stuff. Like we do some fishing shoots and we do bike shoots, and Paul rides bikes, and we can kind of speak on all that stuff.
I haven't seen Paul in so long, dude. I love that guy. Too. Yeah, that's dope.
Got a little baby now.
Oh well, congrats, Paul, if you're listening. That's awesome.
But yeah, it was really cool. Like, and he was basically after that, like I was working at Pasty here in town, like managing the Tempe store.
I remember this. Okay.
And then doing that stuff, plus fishing all the time, plus still riding, like doing a lot. And then Paul's like, you need to move to Portland. Like, I think we have enough work at this point, like where you could just move here and just work for us full time. And I was
nice.
Like, I'd started going to Portland for the summers when I was 21 until I was like 27, because Sure moved out there.
Yeah.
And he was like, the first summer, he's like, you have to come to Portland. I'm like, all right. See you next week.
Sick.
So I always looking for a way back, basically, like I love Phoenix and I love Arizona, but I couldn't deal with summers.
Dude, you had it made. I mean, you were doing the right thing, being a snowbird.
Sunbird. I always call it sunbird.
Sunbird. I like that.
Yeah, it's interesting. And then, like the fishing stuff is interesting too, because I basically got on officially with the fishing stuff because of my knowledge that I gained from bike riding.
Yeah, I was going to ask it while you were talking about that. Like how does one become a sponsored fisherman? What's the terminology? Did you see a clip of the guy Sam Smith, who did the performance at whatever Grammys? I saw a clip of them saying, I want to be a fisher them. And I was like, whoa, a fisher them? Okay. So
nice, progressive.
What's the proper terminology for being a fish catcher?
Angler.
Angler, okay.
Is the gender neutral, everything
that's
encompassing.
Perfect.
My story is kind of weird. Like I was just going fishing all the time, and because of how our lives worked as bike riders, you put everything that you're doing on the internet.
Yeah.
So I had a Twitter and a fucking Instagram, and just, and I was just like, so if I was fishing, I was posting fishing shit. If I was riding, I was like not any different than what I do now.
Right. Yeah.
So I was working at my friend's clothing store at the time as well, Sunset Clothing Exchange. Shout out Angel.
Angel.
But yeah, I was pretty slow, and I got a weird Twitter message like, hey, I got a fishing question. And I was like, because I would get like, and it sounds bad too, but I would get like, in between BMX kids like asking me for free bike parts.
Yeah.
I would get like, random fishing questions too. And I would usually always field the fishing ones. Oh yeah.
Be closer.
I always field the fishing ones, just being that it was, something that I was obsessed with at the time.
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right, what's your question? And he's like, hey, I'm a photographer. These are my clients. Like I have a fly fishing shoot coming up. He's like, I saw your post and you don't look like a fly fisherman. So do you want to do this shoot? And I was like, yeah. So he's like, yeah, we'll fly you to Oregon. We'll float down this river for 4 days, and we'll pay you whatever, small day rate. I was like, dude, this is crazy. I'm getting paid to go fishing. Thought that was it, and then it was for a year. And then a year later, I get a call or an email from the brand manager of the brand, Reddington, who I'm still involved with. And they were like, hey, we made new products. Do you want to come do the same thing again on a different river? And I was like, yes.
Yes, please.
And so during that, having conversations, and the brand director at the time was like, how did your shit with BMX work? Like, basically like, tell me how your sponsorship in BMX worked. And I was like, well, like you start and you get some free stuff, and then it progressed and we got like a little travel budget, and then it progressed and we got like a little salary, and then you get a signature part, and your responsibilities kind of go up. And I was like, I'm old, so we had print mags still, so we'd get photo contingencies or video contingencies.
I remember photo contingencies. Dude.
Yeah, we'd get, you get a logo and you get a couple $100 or a burrito, depending on who the person was.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so I explained all that to her, and having bars and a frame, and how involved Zach and Kink and Matt and Jay and everybody let us be with those products, really taught us, I say us too, like Daryl, Doyle, everybody that had a part, is like you really learn how it goes from the design phase all the way through production.
That's
to marketing
amazing.
and to all that stuff. And so we really did get a crash course in like marketing 101.
Shout out Jay for that. Yeah. That's awesome.
And so going through that process, and she's just like, and I don't think we give ourselves enough credit as BMX riders, or as an industry either. Like BMX industry is very progressive in its marketing because it has to be grassroots. You know, like there's no money. You learn how to do everything on this crazy budget.
Yeah.
You're really asking a lot out of, you know, your employees or your team members or whatever to get all of this done for literally nothing. You know? And it's not because there's a ton of money in the industry. That's just how it is. Like, you have to learn how to get all of this shit done with very little.
Yeah, for real. Send a whole team of 6 people, film a video, get all the photos for the catalog for the year, all within 7 days, and keep it under $5,000.
Yeah, right. And you're like, but as a 18-year-old bike rider, you're like,
stoked.
I'll do that for $4.
Yeah,
like,
for real. Sometimes that's your per diem.
Yeah, totally, for the whole trip.
Yeah,
and that's great, you know. But things progress, and you tend to need a little bit more as you get older. And you know your worth.
Yeah. So you're talking to this Reddington girl?
And she's just like, how do you know all this shit about marketing? Like, you should be a marketing director, brand manager or something, you know? And I'm like, I don't know, I just paid attention, I guess. You know, like, and then ultimately she's like, well, all of that stuff that you did for the bike company, like, do you want to just do that for us? And I was like,
smart girl.
Yeah. You know, like, and she's like, cool, I'll give you free product. We'll go on a trip or now and then, you know, like.
Sick. So then you're a sponsored angler.
So then I'm a sponsored angler, and
that's fire.
Yeah.
Has that progressed any further since then, or like, were you flow and then now are you pro in your angler career? Angling?
It's weird. So the outdoor world is different. Like, the only way that I can explain it is, like, bike riding, there's like it is hard, especially for me saying this too. Like, you have to be like, you need to be certain good, you know, like you need to be at a level.
Right.
Whereas like in fishing, like, you can be the best caster on the planet. It's not up to you though. It's up to the fish ultimately, right? Like, you're fooling something else that's living into eating. And that's what is deciding your success.
That's interesting.
If that's what your success is. Like, fly fishing is a weird thing too. Like, to me, catching the fish isn't really that high up on the totem pole of what makes a successful day for fishing for me, right?
Okay.
But from a brand standpoint, like, why do you hire this person? Or like, you know, like, how do you promote this person? Like, and it's everything aside from catching fish, right? And it's a lot like that in bikes too. Like, we kind of have this conversation. Like, I mean, obviously I wasn't the best bike rider, you know, like, but I made a little niche in my world, you know, and did what I did. And it had very little to do with bike ability. I think
it's like personality, willingness to, you know, do photos and videos, and I don't know, the whole package, more than just being able to catch a fish.
You want to be able to,
or being able to tail whip.
Like, go on a fishing trip and get along with everybody, or same with bike trip. Like,
for real, it's huge.
Don't butt heads. But yeah, it's interesting. So they're just like, there's no way to like do that. I mean, there are like big figureheads in the fishing world that I'm sure get paid. Yeah. I'm not sure. They do get paid. My wife gets money.
She's a pro.
Yeah, she's a pro. I'm just like,
that's dope. You married a pro angler. Anglet?
No, still
I'm
angler.
Just kidding.
Yeah, I'm an angler. But yeah, it's a little bit different of a model, but it's ultimately kind of the same, like, when it boils down to it.
That's fire. So it's still Reddington? Any other?
Yeah, still Reddington.
Like, what does Reddington do? I'm just curious personally, because fishing's a whole different. Can you tell I've never been fishing? I don't know shit.
Go fishing, buddy.
Yeah, let's go fishing. Yeah. So I want to know, like, I don't know what, like in BMX, there's parts sponsors, there's frame sponsors.
No, perfect. So Reddington makes hard goods, so rods, reels.
Okay.
They make waders, which keeps you dry. Yeah. They make boots. So that's what Reddington's main thing is. Dope. Reddington is under a parent company called Farbank. Okay. So think about it like Full Factory. Yeah. Odyssey, Sunday, Fairdale. So Farbank owns another rod hard goods company called Sage, which is like top of the line best stuff. Yeah. You know, that's even better. S&M, American made. Sage, American made. Dope. Fit, overseas made. Reddington, overseas made.
Okay, got you. Yeah.
Easy connection. Farbank also owns Rio Products, which is, they make lines.
Soft goods. No, what's the category? Like the wire.
The line that you cast, you fish with. They make leader and tippet, which is the monofilament, the clear stuff. Okay. They make flies. which is
the
lure,
colorful thing.
The colorful thing made out of feathers and plastic sometimes. So they kind of have all of that stuff. So I'm on Rio, I'm on Reddington.
Sick.
I have a clothing sponsor called Topo Designs, which is out of Colorado.
Nice.
Yeah, it's kind of all the same.
I mean, kind of like most things in life, a lot of shit comes, from referrals, and you get one thing, and then it leads to another thing. Like, I'm curious, like this clothing sponsor you just said, I forgot the Roto. What'd you say it is?
Topo. It's all. It's just like everything else in the world. It's you meet people, and they go, "I like you," or "I hate you."
Yeah,
like,
for real.
And someone there, I had a friend, Brandon, that worked there. He came from Reddington, and he sent me like a backpack forever ago. Like they started out as basically just making packs.
Yeah.
And so I had a backpack forever, and then I ended up meeting the marketing guy, and the marketing guy was like, "I'll give you anything else you want." And then Kayla and I both met one of the owners named Jed, and we got along super well. And so like it just evolved that way.
It works out, yeah.
And I think like good relationships are friend relationships, right? Like your business side of that will, sometimes business and money can ruin the friend stuff, obviously. But like if you can't be friends, then why do you want to work for them? Or like
for real.
You don't like the product, you don't like the bike, like then don't ride for the bike company. Like it's very simple, I think. I don't know, but
well,
sometimes it's not, I guess.
That leads me into bike companies. I remember, dude, you were I just told you this, but I'll repeat it. You were at Goodyear Skate Park, and I was 18 years old. This is like 2008, and I remember shitting my pants inside because like I think I even like said, all right, I might have whispered it. That's Casey Badger. And you were on your signature kink bike. It was like a copper bike, and just freaking out like, oh my god, it's a pro, and I'm in my super youthful phase of riding and geeking out and thinking pro riders are just like like idols. At that point, I guess in 2008, that's when I started to learn about BMX, but you had already been in the game for a while, and like photo contingencies, like you said. And I was looking earlier, like you've been in videos since 2000s at the latest. Like what was your first fucking A? Let's go back to the beginning, dude. How did you make a name for yourself in BMX?
Shit, how do you start that one? I mean, I started racing when I was a kid. I was 8.
Okay, that explains a lot.
Racing.
Yeah, racing.
I did the stereotypical story of like I rented Rad from Blockbuster and watched it, and I went to my dad and I was like, I want to do this. And then a couple weeks later, like luckily we lived here, so there was racetracks. With Chandler BMX. A couple weeks later, started racing. And then
at
fast
8 years old
forward, yeah,
sick.
So 8 years. And I I didn't race a lot when I was young. Like I raced a lot when I was 12 to 14 probably.
Okay.
But everybody from my from my age group, I sound like the old asshole. I'm 40, but like pretty much everybody I know that's in my age group, like we all raced or went to the racetrack.
Yeah.
Like that was like the hub for the Phoenix community. Is like even like Brian Val, who didn't race, that lived out here, like I would still see him at the racetrack. Like it was just bikes. Everybody just rode bikes.
Yep.
It wasn't like I'm a street rider, I'm a dirt jumper, I'm a flatlander. Like you just rode BMX bikes, and so you went to where everybody else was. And so I got to see like the other side of the sport from the racetrack, like that's where I met all the UHL dudes. Like
what's UHL?
Union Hills. That was the trails on 19th Avenue, Union Hills. So I was like Fatty Patty, Schmoove, Ron Huber, like the core
You're
group.
Giving me the education. I've never heard these names.
Oh yeah. That's like Road Fools 1. They went and rode at Beardsley, but that's all those same dudes. It's all the UHL dudes.
Fatty Patty.
Fatty Patty.
That's Schmoove, a dope name.
8 O's, I think. He got an O every time
Schmoove.
Did something cool. Ron Huber, and their backstory was like they went on a trip to Indiana, rode some trails in Indiana, and before this, like trails were like a dirt jump out in a field, and then you would like crank your ass off and maybe hit another one.
Right.
They went to Indiana and rode some trails that were like, it was like Stu Johnson and Crandall and all those dudes had a set of trails, and they rode those trails, and they were like an 8-pack, so it was like jump, jump,
flowy.
Exactly, no pedaling in between. And they came home and they built a line at Union Hills, which is like a little desert lot behind a grocery store. Like it
was like in shambles when I came of age around like 2008. Like There was remnants of little jumps.
Oh, really?
There. Yeah.
I was trying to think of when they were. Because they got plowed and then they moved down the street to Beardsley, which is now an apartment complex. But Beardsley is what was in Road Fools 1.
I got to watch Road Fools 1.
Road Fools 1 still like... I remember like knowing that they were coming in town. I was like a junior in high school.
Yeah.
And they were going to the trails and I was like, fuck, I can't. Like I was 15, so I couldn't drive, right? I was like, how am I going to get there? And I'm like, I can't get there because I lived in North Scottsdale, so it was like 45 minutes. And I was like, just remember just sitting in school, just like melting because I knew like every one of my childhood heroes.
They're there
like,
right now.
At my spot that I rode. You know? Like, But yeah, I mean, racetrack and you meet all those dudes. And then I got to see the dirt jumping side. And then I, you know, like started riding with those guys. And I was like the little kid of that crew, you know, like they're all like in their mid 20s or low, you know, at least, you know, old enough to drink or I don't know.
Yeah.
But so those became like my heroes, right? Like, I'm like, dude, I'm riding with these dudes that are like incredible bike riders.
Yeah. And when you're that age,
yeah.
people that are even just like 5 years older than you is like, oh
you
my
think they're
God.
soul,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. And it was the same too, as it's like, you know, like they are always having fun, like doing whatever, you know. I just wanted to do all of that. I was like, they really opened my eyes to like what bike riding was outside, because racing is really, I think racing is great. I think I still tell like Humphreys, back to Humphreys, his kid races, and I was like, racing's the best thing for your kid to do as a bike rider. Like he's going to learn so much bike control, and he's not going to be like afraid of speed. He's going to be comfortable jumping, like, and now he's a ripping bike rider. Like,
sick.
I'm like, oh,
I love that.
Story checks out. But yeah, it's just cool to see all that, and then it kind of just progressed into that. Like that's how I met Sure, is because he was UHL at that time. Like,
sick.
And he was also like a.
You say it like it's a club, UHL.
I mean, trail clicks kind of work clubs, you know. Like
that's what's up.
You put your trail
UHL?
spot on your bike, yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
did you have gang signs? Like,
no, I mean,
UHL, bro.
They might have had gang signs. I mean, Gons was UHL too.
Yeah, no shit.
They had a wall ride on the way in.
Hell yeah. What was one of the like your first dirt jumping trick that you learned? I mean, I imagine you goof around with tricks as you race and shit.
Take a guess, Bobby.
X up.
No.
Turn down.
Yes.
Yeah, sick.
I learned turn downs actually right down the street from here.
No kidding.
We had 2 jumps in a field that were on 32nd and Indian School.
No shit.
You know that Dairy Queen that's right there?
Yeah.
Or right next to that Dairy Queen.
I go there every day. Protein house, dude. Yeah. Delicious food.
I learned turn downs in that field that's now, I think it's a parking lot.
It's a shame, dude.
It was 13, I think.
That's wild. Yeah. So then, I mean, you meet Sure, you're hanging out with the clique.
Yeah, I met Sure, riding with those dudes, and you know, we had, my friend Dom and I had our own set of trails in North Scottsdale, and you know, once everyone kind of figured out that we had trails, like I built trails like I was seeing in the videos, right? Like we watched 1201 and we watched Anthem and we watched all these old trail like push tweakers, and I literally was obsessed with all the push dudes. Like I wore out Anthem, I wore out Stauffer's part. Like I studied it, you know. Nice. Like this is that he was my god, you know. Him.
What did you like about him?
Just looked good on a bike, you know. Like he did the best tape. Like he would snap tapes like 3 times. Like
sick.
Did good X ups, like cranked as you could get. Everything he did was like, you know,
proper.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. He's just one of those dudes too that like you look at a bike rider and you're like, that dude is good.
Yeah.
You know, that was the first time I remember like seeing that in a person.
Dope.
But yeah, then just, you know, Sure ended up moving to the East Coast when we were like, I think I was like 15, because I don't think I was driving yet.
Young buck.
16, dude. Maybe.
Are you and Sure the same age?
No, he's
a little older.
3 years older than me.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he's 43, 44 maybe.
Put that mic towards your face.
Yeah, he moved to the East Coast. He met Dave Young. That's how he got on Kink.
Sick.
And then when he got on Kink, he basically got me on Kink, and
he just brought you along.
Yeah, I just turned 18, I think 17. We were doing those contests out at Fort McDowell.
Yeah, I remember hearing about those. Never got to go to one.
Crazy.
But
those are the best.
I want to know about them. What was it like? I mean, pick one year that you went and paint me a picture of what it was like.
I mean, the year that started it all was Wilkerson did a Burning Bike Festival, the 2-hip contest out there.
Okay.
And so like all the big name dudes came out, you know, like Behringer front flipped a jump out there. And
wow.
Corey Edelman tried to do bar spin, no
Behringer front flipped a jump in what year is
96
this?
or something?
Fuck yeah.
You know, like, yeah.
Do you think that was the world's first?
I don't know.
Because front flips are rare. Even now, there's not that many people doing them. That's awesome.
He did them so different, too. He would just throw his body forward off the lip. But yeah, I mean, that was a big deal, right? And like Ruben was out there. He had just came over from Spain, and he was like Trick Ruben, you know? Like he was doing double whips. And there's that famous photo of Volker like roasting a hip that's in the street course part of it. Like,
yeah.
That was like the first big contest that I went to, like seeing those dudes. And on top of that, it was like a huge party, you know? It was a 2-hip contest.
You get to see
the
BMX, like
you get to see that side of it, right? Like, you know, I'd seen like some other people would come out because like the S&M dudes would come out, like Butler would come out and Marvin would come out and those dudes. But like just having like all levels of that level of bike riding at that place was pretty crazy. And then they would do the contest every year after that. It wasn't a 2-hip contest, but the Fort McDowell Indian Reservation kind of lumped it into their powwow fair ceremonies that they would do. Like they'd have a big festival almost, and
they just kept the BMX thing going.
And they literally just, it was like they would do a powwow and native ceremony stuff. They would have like crazy black metal bands. It would be there would be a rodeo, and then there would be like this giant fair happening, and then just like in the corner there was a BMX contest with a bunch of white kids.
Wild, just random shit. Black metal.
Yeah, it was so crazy.
That's amazing.
Like, you know, drunk people like trying to give you $10 to eat shit. Like, but yeah, I mean that was pretty close to my house, so every year we would just we'd either build the skate park and then build the trails for the contest. And it was pretty crazy now looking back on it, because like not until the later years, the early years, like we would do all this work and build the jumps and build the skate park literally to ride it for the contest and never get to go back out there because it was on the res. Like, so we couldn't we can't just go out there and ride that shit. Like
I didn't. Oh yeah. Really?
Yeah.
You can't?
No.
Why?
Because it's most private of land.
Okay,
it's a sovereign nation. Like if you go out there and they catch you out there, they can literally like they could take your car if they want. You know?
Shit.
Like, it's a whole different set of rules. It's like trespassing into a different country.
Yeah. Wow.
So they basically like, you know, they're like, no, you had the contest. Like we let you have the contest. Like we'll see you next year. Like,
okay, bye.
Shit, that's a lot of work. But later on, we ended up getting like a key, and we could go out there and ride. And like, so when we did when Road Fools 11 came out, like we had the key, so that's why we got to go ride there.
Nice.
Then, and like it became more of like a spot, you know, like
yeah.
But at the early years, we're like, I don't care that you did all this work.
Yeah. Fuck off, Whitey.
And looking back, I'm like, I mean, I get it. Like, yeah, I completely understand.
And then so, I mean, sure brings you on kink.
Yeah,
sure.
Kink.
You're 18?
18. I won the Fort McDowell contest that year. It's my only pro bike riding victory. I just graduated high school, and I won I think I won like $1,500 at that contest.
That's huge. When you're 18,
crazy,
dude.
Right?
Yeah.
So I was like, I went to Mexico the next day, like blew a bunch of money.
Hell yeah.
You know, like, but I was like, at that moment, I was like, this is it. Like, I'm making money. Like, little did I know it was going to be the most money I would ever make from bike riding. But yeah, it was cool. And then,
do you remember your winning? Was it a dirt jump victory or a park?
So
or was it mixed and shit?
I won the dirt contest, and I got third in the street contest, which was just a ramp contest, which is basically
it's interesting how they used to call that street.
It was basically just a box jump, hip, and spine.
Yeah,
so I was basically just a different side of trails that was made out of wood.
Yeah.
And I got third in that, and so then I won like the overall champion or something. And for whatever reason that year there was more money. I think like the tribe put up more money that year or something. So like it was a bigger year anyways. Just
do you remember your winning dirt jumping run?
No. I'm sure you could guess.
Did you take a guess?
X up, turn down, probably no-footed can. Yeah, I mean, nothing insane, that's for sure.
I enjoyed watching all of your, not all of them, but I watched, Safety First. I watched, there was a mix with you and Sure and one other person in the Pacific Northwest.
Oh, Mills?
Yeah.
The Volt
I was
video?
just blanking on his, what was the videos? Vault?
Volt. That
Volt.
was Aaron Nardi.
Aaron Nardi. Dude, I'm learning a lot of names. I'm going to restudy this episode. I guess, when did filming become a part of it? Like, because I imagine when you get on Kink, what are your responsibilities? Kink Flow in 1998, or is that the right year?
Yeah, no,
Ish,
that was
2000.
No, it was probably 2000.
Okay,
yeah, because I was born in 82, 18.
The internet barely exists.
Check. Yeah, I was downloading songs off Napster.
I remember those days.
Yeah, I don't know what responsibilities that I really had other than to like just wear the
rock
stuff.
Their shit.
And,
yeah.
Like I even wrote an S&M with Kink stickers on it for
nice.
a while.
I think a lot of people still do that.
Yeah,
shit.
I wrote a Challenger that I put Kink stickers on it because at the time this was pre Freebird. There was the Revision B. Like that thing was 40 pounds, and I was literally riding a race bike.
Yeah.
So I was like, I can't ride this thing. But yeah, it's cool. Like and then from there, photographers. I met Baker right around that same time.
Adam Baker.
Yep, Adam Baker. And he had, the craziest set of trails that I'd ever seen in Prescott.
Yep.
And so we started going up there. I started going up there 3 times a week, basically.
Those things were huge.
Yeah. And, became friends with him. And obviously he became, the man. Literally one of the best bike riders that's ever existed.
For real.
And, photographers started coming out, like Adam Booth from BMX Plus came out. That was my first photo in a magazine, was just
Sick.
riding with Adam at his trails,
Sick.
And
what was the photo?
It was an X-Up.
Hell yeah.
It was.
Was it all the way around like you do?
It was shot from underneath. And I remember being stoked because I had just gotten a new, I was always pretty into shoes, which is funny. But I had just gotten a brand new pair of Etnies Zars, which were super cool at the time, and they were huge in the photo.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, shoes look sick.
You're like, the photo's dope, but my shoes look amazing.
Shoes look sick.
What are those?
But it didn't say my name in it or anything. It was this weird little sliver photo that was an eighth of the page. But I was like, dude, that's me.
Fuck yeah, that's huge back then.
Yeah, it was cool. And then you met him, and I'd go on trips with Baker. Or, Arizona at that time was already kind of a scene in its own right, because of Gons.
This is Gons, Rat Boy era.
And all that stuff.
Els Bells.
It became a spot and a scene in its own right. Road Fools kind of put it on the map in that aspect too.
Yeah. What was your first Kink official trip? Because we all do the the young homie trip. So you and Baker travel into whatever. But
we just went to weird contest.
What was your first memory of being?
I remember
on a team trip.
Yeah, I remember I was finals week because I was in college. And this is the weird thing. What
did you study in college, real quick, by the way?
I have a degree. I have a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree with an emphasis in drawing.
Cool. So he could draw good.
I could draw good. Yeah. So I remember it was finals week. It was my first year of college, So I was 18 and went to New York. And I don't remember where we went, though. I remember flying to Rochester, meeting Zach. And I had to borrow Zach's laptop because he had a laptop, which was crazy at the time. I'm like, you have a computer that I can just bring with us, And he's like, yeah. And I was like, cool, I need to write a paper on this trip.
Nice.
So everybody else is in the van, partying, doing whatever, and I'm the little kid on the trip. I'm not a little kid. Dirty Dan was on that trip, so he was actually the little kid. But I was I was a young dude. I couldn't drink or anything, so I'm just riding in the van with the owner of the company, doing homework,
just writing about what do you do for a final for a fine arts degree with an emphasis on drawing?
You're under. Study stuff is still English and
okay, just regular topic shit. Yeah, I was gonna say I'm just picturing you writing about a curved line can emphasize.
I had to do a bunch of art history shit that sucked.
That's kind of dope though. I don't know.
But yeah, it was cool, but I remember just being I can't not do the school thing. I'm I have to ride, but it was definitely I should have seen it as a thing and then to pick a side,
yeah, you can't half-ass.
And I fully feel I half-assed both things. It took me fucking 8 years to get this 4-year degree because I would go on trips and miss shit, and then I get dropped and whatever. And then at the same time, I would say no to trips because of school.
Yeah, dude.
And I couldn't put 100%, of my time and energy into bike riding like I probably should have at the time.
Yeah.
But at the same point, like, I'm not the personality type that can only do one thing. So like if I wasn't going to school and riding bikes, I would have been doing something else and riding bikes, or, you know, like, or, you know, I always would have rode bikes even going to school, so I might as well have done it like I did it. But it is interesting to like think back on like, damn, maybe I should have just said yes to every trip and waited on school.
That's what I was just about to ask. So like, given life's great, you love where you ended up, but if you could go back in time in a hypothetical different universe, what would you tell that 20-year-old Casey to do?
Yeah, say yes to everything.
Say yes to all the BMX opportunities.
I still say that to, like, you know, my wife's a perfect example. Like right now, she literally got invited to go to Mexico for a week for a fishing trip.
Fuck yeah.
And she's currently in New Orleans, like at a fishing tournament, and then she goes to Miami. So she would have to change her flight from Miami to Portland to Miami to Cancun. And she's just like, that's just a lot. And I'm like, I mean, yeah, but you're going to Mexico. I'm like, yeah, just say yeah. Figure it out.
That's so later. Rad. Your wife's a killer fisher, angler. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, say yes to everything. Like,
that's good advice.
Like, there's so much, you learn so much more by traveling with your homies than you do.
Yeah. Some of the smartest people I know don't have degrees, but you know, there's a benefit to having that piece of paper that says, hey, I can finish a project. Basically, that's what it is. It's like,
yeah. I can be held accountable.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I don't know, the value of a degree. What's that cliche that we almost just said? The half-ass. You can't half-ass two things. You have to whole-ass one thing. What do you know what I'm saying?
That sounds cool.
That's it.
Whole-ass.
You got to whole-ass one thing.
Yeah, that's true. Should have taken that advice.
Were videos a big part? Did you get to go on a Road Fools?
I didn't go on a Road Fools. I mean, they did those few Road Fools that were in Arizona. The majority of the video, like Road Fools 11, was basically here. Yeah. You know, like, and so we were with them all day, every day. Like Billy and I.
Billy, who would have who runs the mag wheel.
Yep. Spin mag Billy.
Yeah.
Still one of my best friends.
Nice.
I mean, videos were funny. Like Wasted Days was the first video I remember like filming for. And it wasn't like, it was just like, hey, we're going to film a video. Like, do you have a camera? And I was like, no. Like, do you know anybody with a camera? I'm like, no. No, I'm like, fuck. I'm like, I think I asked for like a handy cam for Christmas or something, you know, like, so my mom got me some little shitty handy cam, and that's what we literally filmed Wasted Days part with. Like, Billy would hold the camera, or I'd put it on a tripod and push record and go do a run. Like,
fuck yeah.
and you know, I was thinking about like how different video parts are now versus then. Like, and maybe it was just my mindset. Like, to me, a video part was like what you can do, right? Like,
yeah,
it wasn't like, I feel like now there's a video part writer that like will do a trick that they necessarily can't do. Does that make sense? Like, if you try something 100 times, you'll do it.
Right. Yeah.
I hope, or you'll die.
That's a video part.
You know, and that's a video part, right?
Yeah.
Like, you put in a video part. Whereas like, to me, my mindset on a video part was like, this is what I do every day. So I do
just documentary
day,
type.
Yeah, exactly.
Type shit.
Like, film video part. You got your deadline's in 3 weeks. Cool. I'll go ride the trails for, you know, a couple days. You know? Like, and that sounds bad, but like that's what it was.
Doesn't sound bad.
At the time,
yeah.
You know? Like,
it is what it is.
And that kind of progressed, and then we did, you know, I think Safety First was after Cheap Thrills was after that.
Okay.
Cheap Thrills was like the first one where, like, you know, video parts, at least to my recollection, like became more of a thing, right? Like, crazy videos were coming out. Like, bike riding was like progressing super hard. Like, even on the kink side, it was like, we're gonna put like an emphasis into this. Like, we're gonna like go on trips and film stuff.
Sick.
And, you know, like,
what
we're gonna do it.
What this video, first one you said was Wasted Days, and then this is Cheap Thrills.
Cheap Thrills.
What year ish was this?
Cheap Thrills was, I think I was like 2001. No, 2003.
Nice. So this is party time for Casey.
Fucking party time. Yeah. Yeah, I was pretty party in there. Cheap Thrills was tough. Like, I remember that was the first time I like felt pressure to film a video part, and I ended up getting hurt pretty bad, like starting to film it basically. That's when I broke my leg and it was backwards.
Oh,
like,
shit.
in the video, like.
Yeah, you were on Scarred.
Yeah, I was on Scarred.
I just remembered you on Scarred.
Yeah. But that video, like, that was like.
You did it on a wooden spine.
Yeah, outside of Austin.
Okay.
Ranch. But that trip was like one of the first trips where like Billy, Eric Fantine, and I drove to Austin to ride all that stuff, and I broke my leg in Austin, and then I literally couldn't ride my bike for 8 months.
Damn.
And so by the time I started riding again, it was like
due date.
Yeah. It was done.
That sucks.
Which is fine.
So how did
like,
it end up?
Ended up okay, I think. I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, it's the same as. I mean, it's how I rode.
Yeah.
You know, like.
This is a documentary of my riding.
Yeah, totally.
Look at the tricks I can do.
Riding, and I was, manual to 180 to nowhere.
Yeah, love them. There's a strong period of time where that was perfectly acceptable because that was kind of a new trick, manual 180s.
And that's what broke my leg.
The manual you did 360 to manual 180 on the spine.
On the spine.
Dude, it's all coming back to me. I remember seeing that clip on Scarred, and then there's another crash clip that is like very memorable. That is by Thunderbird Skate Park. There's a brick curved wall that's just like a sign, and
that one's Ballman's fault.
What did Ballman do?
Ballman took too long to film this fucking trick he was trying, and I was too ADD to sit there and let him finish it. So I just kept riding the fucking curved wall ride and put my front wheel over it, and
that didn't go well, dude.
Out.
Did you? I remember hearing this story a long time ago from Chadwick, but will you tell me that story? The smashing your face into that curved wall?
Yeah, I don't know. It was just a banked curved wall ride, and I was just, I had already filmed like curved wall ride and then lip slide, and I don't even remember what Ballman was trying. I'm surprised
you had on that same spot.
On that same spot,
okay.
Yeah. And so I just kept riding it, like dicking around, basically, and then I went fast, put my front wheel over it.
You sure did. You were hauling ass
at it. Didn't get my hands out, hit my face on it. I remember waking up like there's a Quick Trip across the street, and I woke up in the bathroom. Like my face is just gushing blood. Oof. And like it's what is that, like 79th Avenue or something? Like it's a pretty busy street, and I walked
definitely a main road.
I just zombied across the street, and Chadwick was like, dude, you just walked across traffic basically. Like you didn't stop. And I'm like, yeah, I was out cold.
I was blacked out.
You guys just let me do this. And then
like, he'll be fine.
Yeah.
Just then, walk it off.
I've had enough concussions, even to this point. Like I've had concussions where like you knock yourself out and you forget a bunch of time period. And like I remember at that point, like I kept asking the same question, like, what did I do? Like, where am I? Like, whatever. And they're like, oh my God, shut the fuck up, dude. Like you were doing this. And I had just started dating this girl, this is the funny part of the story, is that like I just started dating this girl, super like hyped on her.
Yeah.
She called me and I had no clue who it was.
Damn.
Like, cause it was so new that like,
damn.
Like it had been a couple weeks basically, and she calls and I'm like, I fucking recognize the name. And I'm like talking to her and I'm like, it's gonna sound crazy, but like I don't know who you are. And she's like, obviously like you tell any girl that you're dating that you don't know who they are. She's like, fuck you. Like,
what the fuck?
Yeah, exactly. Like super mad. And I'm like, no, this sounds crazy. Like, I'm like, if I see you, it'll hopefully help me, And I'm like, so meet me in my house, like, and I'll get there. I'm like, I explained to her like what happened. She's like, oh my God, are you okay? And I'm like, I mean,
clearly not.
I'm alive.
I don't remember you.
But and like she ended up like showing up, and by then my brain started reconnecting the dots, and I remembered who she was at the time. But as soon as she saw me, like literally like half of my face was like scraped off and like swelled up, and she's like, oh my God, I understand. You literally don't remember me.
That's wild.
But yeah,
that's absolutely wild. So we just like jumped ahead some years, but I'm curious because like I think my first introduction to you, aside from the session at Goodyear, was going to the I Got Work premiere in the garage at Core Bikes on Scottsdale Road. And
oh wow,
that was 2009 or 2010, I think. And that makes me wonder how long or when did you meet Chadwick, the lovely Ryan Chadwick, the
Chadwick origin story.
The second best filmer in Arizona.
Yeah, we grew up in like the same area of town. And I'm the same age as Ryan's brother, Justin. So I knew Justin, who was like, he's always into cars. Like he was in car clubs and had crazy lowriders and stuff. And I knew Justin, but he's like, I remember Justin said something to me. He's like, yeah, my little brother just started riding BMX bikes. And I was like, cool. Because Ryan's like 5 years younger than me. So I never saw them around,
Yeah.
you know, like, and then he had this little maroon Astro van with BMX stickers all over it. And I started like seeing him driving to spots and stuff. And I was like, I wonder who that is. And then I ended up meeting all of them at like Paradise Valley Skate Park or something.
Nice.
You know, and then.
So you're even a generation like above Chadwick. Chadwick
Yeah.
looked up to you when.
I mean, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I would imagine so. He'd probably say so.
But yeah, and then so that friendship, like they ended up going on a trip to Vegas with us, like Billy and I, and then it was like Nick Shest and Sam
Burrows.
Yep, Sam Burrows. Best man at my wedding.
Best man period.
Best
Sam.
man period. Sam.
Yeah. Hell of a guy.
So that whole crew, and then Ballman was kind of in that crew, you know, as well. And we all went to Vegas, and I called them the Goof Troop because they were literally just goofy kids, you know.
Yeah.
Like I was the old, you know, at the time. I guess I'm still the old guy in that group. I haven't stopped aging. But I was like 22, and they were like 17, you know. So I'm like,
they're the little kids,
and I was like, they were like my little brothers on the trip, you know. I'm like, this is what you do. You go to Hard Rock, you go to the Circle Bar, you buy beer across the street, you bring it into the bar, you know, like, this is how you do Vegas, boys. Like, welcome to being a BMXer. But yeah, I got him into the random bars that I knew would let whoever in. And
is this just like, a random Vegas trip, or was this Interbike and Norcup?
No, it's just a random Vegas trip. Okay. I think we went and rode Skate Street and rode the parks, and it was cool. But that was the first time I remember like hanging out with all of them. You know, like
the I Got Work squad.
Yeah, the I Got Work squad. And then I ended up like later down, like we became really good friends, and I lived with Chadwick and Sam, and obviously, you know, like we're all like tight friends now.
You guys are
those are
the
like
crew.
Our best friends.
On that crew note, are you ditch?
No, I never got kicked in.
I've never got kicked in either, but I tweeted my way in, dude.
Tweeted your way in?
I pestered the shit out of them, and they were just like, okay, you can fucking be ditch KANODE. Just shut up.
Better not let Frank know you can get kicked in.
No, he knows, dude. He still owes me one.
No, we had Billy and a few of our other friends, we had a crew called the Daggers.
Yeah.
We ran like a website called the Dagger Zone.
Oh shit! So this makes sense. Ditch Dagger Death Race.
Yep.
Damn, everything's clicking.
Yeah,
dude. So your crew is the Daggers.
Yeah, we were the Daggers solely because we at the time fixed gears were cool, and we rode fixed gears to the bar. There was another crew called like Hot City Destroyers, and they wore like, I don't know. They were our friends, but like, you know, we're shitty BMX kids, you know, like we're gonna make fun of everybody, so we're like, we need a tough name. Like we were watching Thrashing a lot at the time, and we were the Daggers, and
that's fire.
Then that's when the Death Race started. We did, you know, the fixed gear race / party. That was solely because Billy found all these crazy spots, and he's like, we could do an alley cat race, and it's gonna be insane.
And it became so insane. So let's explain. So ditch is a crew of friends that originated in California in a literal ditch, and then I don't even know the whole history and shit of it, but a lot like Bay Area, I think. Does that
they're like
right?
south of Bay, like Salinas.
So then Frank moves out here from there and just carries on the ditch. They all have like legit ditch tattoos, and that was all their Twitter handles was Ditch Frank, Ditch this, Ditch that. And I thought it was so cool. I didn't know about the Daggers, so that's an interesting crew name. And then I just hear about this like super gnarly famous race that all the hip people are talking about. Like it was like the subculture in Tempe, Arizona of like the Dagger Death Race. What? I never got to go to one, dude.
Oh, bummer.
Tell me about it, Ditch Dagger Death Race.
So the Death Race was an alley cat race. So if you're not familiar with alley cat racing, it's like a fixed gear race that, you know, came from Bike Messenger world.
Okay.
So you get a manifest, which is basically your stops. It's kind of like a scavenger hunt / you know, race. And in it, you know, in a traditional sense, it's how well you know the city is how you can win these things and how fast you are, right?
I didn't know that this type of race exists. That's awesome.
They still have
alley cat
here.
race.
Yeah, they're cool. It's like a cool subculture. Like that's what was cool about that world to me at the time was this stuff. So we were like, we can do this. Like we're BMX kids. Do we know crazy spots?
Yeah.
You know, like, and we literally did this to just fuck with kids that rode fixed gears. Like everything was to fuck with them. We built like a fucking bridge that went over the creek at the wedge that had a giant roller in it that they couldn't get over without pedal striking, so they would fall in it. We made like a bridge like Trey did that rode across the pool. Like we made one of those in our friend's pool. We filled the pool up with dry ice. We had stops that like you had to shotgun a beer, take a shot of fucking tequila, and then spin around and then go do something.
Hell yes,
like everything was to just literally just fuck with all of these people, right?
What was the obstacle in the tunnel? I remember there was something infamous inside of a tunnel.
So there's a tunnel that goes underneath the 202, like right in Tempe, and it kind of dead ends at the end, but you get back in there and it's super creepy. Like,
yeah,
it looks like someone's gonna get murdered when you're in
horror
there.
Movie shit. Yeah.
So we the best year that we did it is Billy, for some reason, I don't know, maybe he did it for this race, but he got like hundreds of doll parts, like heads and bodies, and he filled up this trunk, and then he filled up the trunk with fake blood, and we lit the back end with candles, and we played the CD on loop of like crying babies and like
my
moms
God,
yelling, and like then we put fucking like a smoke machine in there, and it was like
the far end of the tunnel.
In the far end of the tunnel, and you can't see it because the tunnel turns a little bit, so it's like you can see the light when you're in it, and then you turn around the corner and you can't see anything, and it's pitch black. And then you come around the corner and you just see this like murder scene basically. And so we did that, and like you know, at every stop you had to like get something, you know, so it was like grab a baby doll body part and bring that with you. And we had like, there's like a cemetery in Tempe, and you had to take a tombstone rubbing of one of the graves that said "gone fishing," and there was like just funny little things like that, and like
I wish I
and then it ended up at like a giant party. Like we would figure out a bar that would like basically let us do it,
right?
Or like at the time Angel owned the clothing store, so we did it at the clothing store a couple times, like
sick.
But it was like, you know, it just became such a thing in Tempe that like not only was like there was more than 100 people that would do the actual race every year.
Right.
It would take us weeks to fucking plan and set this thing up.
Yeah.
It became this like whole event basically that like, you know,
and we then were just surrounding parties too.
And we were BMX kids, so we'd like thrown jams and contests, and we like knew how to do that stuff. But this was like to a different level. Like we got bands to play. Like
that's so dope, dude.
One of the last years we did at the bar, like we were having a meeting, like a sit down meeting at the bar about like doing the event there, and they're like, well, yeah, like how many people do you expect to show up? And I'm like, 300. And they're like, well, how much beer do you need? And I was like, literally as much beer as you can get. And they're like, what do you mean? Like I'm gonna get like, there's no way you'll run out of this beer. And I was like,
we will.
Bet. You know, like you don't understand how much BMX dudes can drink, and then
did
you
it end
get
at
a lot
Pasty?
of them together.
Is that what you're saying when you say the bar?
The place was literally called the bar.
The bar.
It was on Apache and like Terrace.
Was it the maybe?
I don't know what it's called
maybe
now,
I'm tripping, but it's really shitty dive bar.
Yeah, it was a shitty dive bar.
I think I might know what you're talking about.
But it had room for all of us, and
that's fire.
Yeah, it had a DJ.
I love that. How many years did you guys keep it going? Because it was a Halloween event, no?
Yeah, it was always around Halloween. We did it for 7
years straight, dude.
At least 6, because I remember Dagger Death Race 666.
That's fucking awesome, dude.
But yeah, it was cool. I mean, I look back, like we still joke about it, like we should do it again. And like,
yeah.
None of our lives are set up to like
for real.
Do this free event.
We're
basically.
Married. And,
yeah. I'd have to like come back into town for a month, and
we'll leave that to the youths. Yeah. They got to carry the torch. I bet there's some shit going on like that.
Oh, there's still Alley Cats. Like there's Heavy Pedal, which is in town, and they've done one, and State Bike Company that's in town kind of asked permission for them to do the death race again. So did Heavy Pedal.
Did you grant them?
Yeah, we let them. I was like, I mean, please, someone should do it. Like,
who was the head honcho of this Dagger Death thing? You? Were you the executive producer? It was a group effort.
It was a group effort, but I would say honestly, most of it was Billy's ideas.
Nice.
And then like me, Brandon, Frank, like we would all do it. You know, like, sick. And it became like it was like a giant art project / it was a lot. But luckily there was 10 of us doing it, so
that's amazing.
Yeah, it worked out.
Pause real quick. I gotta pee real bad.
I gotta pee too.
Pause. Resuming. Hey, welcome back from our piss break. We actually have only 30 more minutes because there's a video contest going on at Spinelli's that Zach Beerley's putting on called the Phoenix Winter Classic. And 4 crews made videos, and I get to go be a judge. And I'm bringing Casey as my special guest. He'll be my consultant for judging.
better see some trails clips.
Yeah, boys. I want to see some X-ups. Biatch. So in light of our time crunch, I want to talk about some things. First of all, we did talk about your kink early years, which is cool. I want to know, just give me one, because I know Ryan Scher had a real party phase, and I want to know, just give me one Ryan Scher party story. Nothing that'll get him in trouble, but I worked for the guy.
He hates this story, but this is a Portland years, but okay. Ryan's like the happiest person on the planet most of the time, and when he's drinking, he's like a little kid. He's like running around, like whatever.
Yes.
We are partying with this girls that we knew from Portland, and we're at one of their houses, and I don't know what the fuck he thought he could do this for, but they lived like above the subway basically, and there was like a stair set that went up, like kind of like a porch kind of deal, and then her kitchen window sat right there, and we were leaving to go to the bar, and keep in mind, this is Portland, so everything is pretty much wet always, and so instead of just going through the door, I think he decided that he was just going to jump out of the window down onto the patio, and so he jumped out of the window and he landed, his feet slipped out, and he fucked his back up. He couldn't ride for weeks.
Damn.
And his back is literally still fucked up, and he's like, it has to be from that
shit,
but it's like the roller coaster of emotions, like Ryan was like ripping to like some dumb idea, like, and it was literally nothing. It was just like a freak accident that like, it was like a 3-foot drop basically, but he just landed and slid, and he's like, why did I do that? Like
because I was drunk and happy.
I was drunk and trying to jump out of a window, I guess.
That's a good, relatively tame Sure story. I love it. I was so the other thing, I love your signature parts being named the Lost Dutchman, and I'm wondering if you can tell us what is the Lost Dutchman, briefly, but like what sparked your interest in it, and what is it for people who don't know?
It's like a whole, I think this was like, going to art school and knowing marketing a little bit like I did at the time, comes all full circle. But, I had a whole idea for what my signature bike would have been called, like originally my idea was like something like I wanted to like rip off an old Mongoose logo and call it Badger, like that seems like it would work, right? But when I got into it, I was like, I wanted to give Arizona love, like I love Arizona. So the Superstition Mountains are, not right next to where I grew up. I technically grew up on the McDowells, but I spent a lot of time in Superstitions. Like we go on hikes,
beautiful mountains,
go fishing,
man.
And
that's where Four Peaks is, no?
No, Superstitions is like just East Mesa. It's that big crazy red mountain.
But Four Peaks is that general direction?
Yeah.
Okay.
Four Peaks is a little bit northeast of there, behind it.
Fuck it. Superstitions.
Yep, Superstitions.
Carry
but
on.
There is a ghost story that goes along with the Superstitions, that there is a bunch of gold within the mountains. The first person that went to find it was Dutch. He found it. He's the one that like wrote down in records that there was all of this gold, like millions of dollars in gold, basically. But he didn't make it out of the mountains. And then subsequently, everybody that went back to try to find it never made it out of the mountains.
Whoa.
So, superstition, there's superstition behind going in there.
Yeah.
If you go to that zone, there's a lot of things called the Lost Dutchman, because that story is from him. And basically, like, he is protecting the gold mine. He's like, it was mine, so you're not getting out of here.
That's dope.
So that was the nod to that. That's why my first bike was copper, because Arizona is known for copper mining.
Yeah.
So all of that was kind of encompassing into that. Like the graphics were like, Western style. Like, the head tube, and I drew all of the graphics.
I was going to ask that. Did you draw all that?
I drew the head tube badge. Like the cactus little dude on there was like a funny little clip art that I found that was pretty cool.
Hell yeah.
But all of that was all Arizona theme.
I love that. I would put the Lost Dutchman art on this wall, dude. It's fire. Let's
send you the
get
font. I think it's just on like dafont.com or something. But that was a trip. Like just even being like when they were like, "Do you want to have a frame?" I was like, "Are you fucking serious?" Like, yeah.
You kidding me?
Crazy.
Of course.
Yeah. I still have the first one in my basement.
Nice. Keep that shit. I wonder if I can get my hands on a Lost Dutchman frame anywhere on the internet.
Yeah, I'm the old man that's like wishing I kept all that old shit.
Right.
Now it's all sentimental. And then it's funny because I just stopped riding a Dutchman because I did this rabbit hole last year, and I was like, does anybody have one? Like, I want, like, I don't have one that I can ride, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I'd like to ride one again. And my old roommate, Jess, was like, you left one of your bikes when you moved? Like, I have it. You want me to just send it to you? I'm like, are you fucking serious?
Hell yeah.
He sent me that, and like a brand new Mexican blanket Odyssey junior seat.
Sick.
Like, crispy,
Damn.
you know? And I was like, holy shit. So I rode it for like a year. And
Fuck yeah.
it started getting beat up, so I was like, I should probably retire this thing.
Let's see. I asked a couple of people who know you to hit me with some questions.
Oh God.
Or at least things to say. Did you ever have any legal trouble with your bars at Kink?
Mm-hmm. I have those,
the Badger
too.
bars.
Yeah, the Badger bars. The first sticker of the Badger bar was Bucky the Badger, the University of Wisconsin Badger.
Yeah.
And I flipped him, changed the color of his sweater, changed like a little bit of something in his face.
Yeah.
Like I knew the 10% rule, but it wasn't enough. Basically.
What's the 10% rule? I don't think
it
I
was
know
something like you need to change. If you're going to like rip off a fucking company, you need to change it by 10% for it to be like
That's a
something
small
else.
amount. That's
it wasn't
fair.
very much. And don't quote me on the 10%. I'm sure it's like 90% or something, but 10% was in my head. You know, I was like, I don't need to change it that much. Like, it's fine. And I was like, it's a you know, recognizable thing. It's a Badger. Like, how can, you know, the bars didn't even come out and we got a cease and desist. Like,
No shit. Wild.
I have the sample gold Badger bars with that sticker. The only sticker that I'm aware of, because I'm sure Zach had to
stop
burn them
producing
all,
them,
basically. Yeah. So I still have that stuff. But
those bars were iconic, dude. I remember going into Gordy's when I was younger and just seeing the Badger bars. They stood out. I don't know, the gold shit is fire.
And then the story behind the next sticker is pretty funny. It is like an obscure movie called It's All Gone Pete Tong. You ever watched that movie?
No.
Oh. So the premise of the movie is basically like an electronic DJ goes deaf, and he like figures out how to play by the sound of his, you know, or like the vibrations and stuff. But he's also got a raging cocaine habit. And so when he would be like fiending for cocaine, this giant Badger would come out and beat the shit out of him and like literally like hit him with a shovel and like force feed cocaine into him. So the Badger bar sticker on the second version of the bars was the Coke Badger from It's All Gone Pete Tong, and he's holding like a little, because he's, if you look at it, he's wearing like a pink dress, like that's what he was wearing in the movie, you know.
Sick.
Like
Fucking A, that's awesome. Okay, so we got more. Sure said the first time that you rolled up to Union Hills, you were riding an aluminum power light with clipless pedals.
Fact.
And it might have been like 95 or 96, and that's pretty wild, because like you've always been a mystery to me, dude. Like I know you were like a two generation, I don't know, I'm 32, you're only 8 years older, but I got into it way later, and it's cool to actually kind of hear your story and what years. Like when you were riding trails in 95, 96, I'm 5 years old and I'm in Virginia. Like it's so weird to think about. Let's see. And then Sure says, I have way too many after-hour stories, but we're married adults now.
True. Thanks,
man. And then he said, ask him about one of his worst injuries that happened on a dragon punch machine.
Oh, fuck. So there's a, you know, we lived in Tempe, college town. There's a super college bar called The Vine.
I think The Vine is still kicking, too.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
Wednesday nights, they did $1 you call it.
Yep. Went to plenty of those.
Fuck,
yeah.
Dude. So I would just get straight whiskey for $1.
Yep.
And they had this video game that was the punching bag game.
Yeah.
That you would like punch the punching bag and it would tell you how hard you could punch, basically, you know? And it was funny for me because I don't know why I figured the fucking game out, and I could literally outscore anybody in the bar.
Nice.
So like fucking giant football ASU dudes would come in
and they would
go to punch it, and I would step up and just beat their score. Like Fudger and I a few times almost got the shit kicked out of us because we could hustle the Dragon Punch game, you know?
Yeah.
But the injury that Ryan is talking about is that I, in a drunken stupor, was like, I'm going to cut out the fucking middleman. Instead of punching the bag, I'm just going to punch the sensor. And I fucking uppercutted the sensor, and I broke my hand. and had to have fucking surgery.
Couldn't ride for a while.
I had to like lie to my mom and tell her that I fucking like punched a curve wall ride basically, and it was a fucking mess. But
so you and Sher both have had non-BMX related injuries that kept you off the bike for a while.
Yeah. I mean, partying's awesome. A hell of a drug.
Partying's a hell of a drug. Let's see. Second time he broke his wrist was the first stop of our cross-country road trip in Flagstaff, where we're driving across the country and back to film, and you only made it 2 hours.
Yes.
That's just a story in itself, but hit me with it.
Yeah, I mean, Ryan, Tex, another San Diego dude at the time, and Travis Gardner were driving to Boston from Arizona, and they started in San Diego. We went and rode Prescott with Baker, and he had just built like this little skate park basically at a church, and I think all of my major injuries come from fucking street spines. Like I probably should have just never rode them, but yeah, I did. I don't even remember how I fell, but I broke my wrist on it. That sucks. It wasn't broken like gnarly. Like I could still like grab onto stuff, and I was like, I don't know, maybe it's just sprained. And I didn't want to not go to fucking across country,
Right.
So I was like, let's just go to Albuquerque, just drive to Albuquerque. If I can ride tomorrow, we're cool. If not, I'll go to the doctor. Like I went to the doctor in Albuquerque and they're like, you need surgery. Like,
oh, fuck.
You fucking broke your scaphoid.
Damn.
It's like, cool. So then they had to turn around and drive me home. And then we were driving my car. So I was like, I'm not going to like kill your guys' trip. You could just take my car on the rest of the trip, but.
And then so they came back, dropped you off, and then took your car?
And they took the car and they went on the crazy road trip, and I just got to go have surgery and have FOMO for that time.
That's the worst, FOMO, being hurt like right before a trip, dude.
Yeah, that sucked.
Speaking of trips, so throughout your career, kink, you lifelong kinker, huh? No changes in frame sponsors?
Yeah, no.
That's dope. No, and then I know Odyssey.
Yep.
And was the Mexican blanket one your signature product?
Yeah, it was like Gemini's idea. The Seafoam and Orange Junior seat was mine, and I had a snakeskin one.
Yeah, the snakeskin one I remember. That's fucking rad, because that went with all the other shit that you had from kink.
Yep.
You're a very artistic guy. But the question I'm getting at is basically like, what crew in a van that you've ever been with was the most fun? I imagine Cher's got to be in there, and Dirty Dan maybe, but like, do any trips pop into your head of being in a van with the best guys?
I mean,
and who are the best guys?
Yeah, I mean the kink crew that I think that everybody thinks of when they think of kink nowadays is that crew to me. Like
Sexton?
Yeah, Sexton, Daryl, Doyle, Tony Hamlin, Aaron Smith.
Yes.
Like,
Oh my God, it makes me feel good just thinking about those videos.
Those are like my brothers.
You got to go to Taiwan and
that's like when all kink, like with J Rowe, like Walter was usually the filmer on those trips, and like, Jay somehow convinced Zach that we needed to go on all these fucking crazy trips.
So
good. We went to Australia for 3 weeks, and New Zealand for a couple weeks, and Taiwan, and they went to Eastern Europe, and I was still in fucking school, so I couldn't go to Eastern Europe.
Fucking hell.
Again.
This goddamn art degree.
It's goddamn drawing degree. But yeah, I mean, those are the, in trips of that length with that many people, and you get extreme highs and extreme lows. Like you see the best and worst of everybody. But those trips are literally like traveling with your best friends.
Magical moments.
Yeah, magical moments, and the stories that we fucking have from those trips are insane.
Yes,
but
let alone the videos are insane, man. Those were iconic. Those were like
I think about
how
much fucking partying that we did on those trips, that how those videos even got filmed is insane to me.
That's the best, man. When you're young, you can just party and then still go out and do stuff the next day. Not no more, man. I can't do that.
I drank 2 beers. I'm hungover for 2 days.
Yeah. Honestly, like, even when I was younger, I couldn't keep up with, like, LaShawn and Kyle and Wong. Kyle would just pass out, blackout, drunk, snoring in a sleeping bag, and then wake up the next day and get clips like it's nobody's. Same with LaShawn. Like,
yeah, the first night I met Kyle was at fucking Hanford House because San Diego.
Yeah.
And Ryan and Fudger, and they all lived in this house with Gary that had the mini ramp in the backyard, but they had the literal craziest New Year's Eve party I've ever been to. Like, there was holes getting kicked in the wall to outside. Like bricks were getting knocked out, like fucking fireworks. The backyard lit on fire. But Kyle did Edward 40 hands, and he taped his fucking 40s to his hands, and he started clapping like a fucking crazy person. Like,
did he shatter him?
This crazy? Yeah, he shattered him.
Oh my god!
Fucking passed
He's
out of the
a savage,
corner with
dude.
like broken glass taped to his hands. Like,
Yep, and then I'll get up and ride the next day.
yeah,
Absolutely
get up
wild.
and kill it. I'm sure he probably could have got up that night and killed it.
Yeah, that dude. I just got to ride with him and his kid the other day, and his kid's a tough son of a cookie, dude.
Imagine
Whatever,
that.
like, yeah, imagine that. It's in the genes. So it's Crimson and fuck, I'm drawing a blank on his son's name. But his son is on a bike, a very small bike, and we went to that little colorful park I was talking about, and he didn't know that the up ramp.
Oh, I saw
didn't
that. He
go
filmed
down.
it.
Yeah. No, it wasn't filmed. I just watched it, and it seemed like it was in slow motion because like he almost made it, and then just went over the bars and smashed his face, and he's bleeding from his mouth, and he's crying, and I got to watch Kyle be in dad mode and just console him and like give him options like, hey, we can go home or we can tough it out. It seems like you're all right. And then like 20 minutes goes by and the kid's up and ripping again. It's so beautiful, dude.
Little kids are so rad in that. Like,
yeah.
We have a friend in Portland that his kid is 5 and he rides the jumps with us, you know, like he's this little tiny kid, but he landed super flat on one jump and like fully hit his face on the crossbar, like split his eyebrow. He's bleeding everywhere, you know, and he looks at his dad and he's like, I'm going. Sean's like, you can't see out of your eye. Like, we're going to the hospital. And he's like, no, Dad, I'm going to keep riding. He didn't fully didn't understand why he couldn't ride anymore.
That's amazing, dude. Kids are tough. Yeah. And they're just like built of rubber.
All right.
You don't have a kid?
No kids. No plans.
No kids. Let's talk about, so you mentioned Stauffer earlier. I was going to ask, like, who do you think is your biggest influence early on? And, yeah, who was your favorite rider growing up?
Yeah, that's the hard one because it's like I would love to say all those the dudes I saw in videos, right? Because those are your, you know, as a kid you look up to them the most because they're untangible almost. You know what I'm saying?
And you're a kid, everything's impressionable. Right?
But like honestly, the UHL dudes to me, like Fatty Patty and Schmoove and Huber and Ryan and Vowel and those dudes to me were the most impressionable. Because I saw them and I got to interact with them, but I did, like, you know, like I said, I wore out Stauffer's video parts. Like I was obsessed with Punjab. Like obviously, like Aiken and I are basically the same age. And we rode together a lot when we were younger too, because he was also a racer.
Nice.
He was way faster.
So you knew Aiken before most people.
Like, he like
you knew
would
him
come
from
to
racing.
nationals here.
Sick.
But yeah, like I mean, obviously, like everybody, like we all looked up to Mikey. Like even as a racer, he had something different. Yeah. You know, like he was the fucking. I mean, he is the fucking man.
Yep.
Yeah, those dude, like, and then, you know, meeting Baker was insane to me because he could literally do any trick that he wanted, which I couldn't understand. Like he's like, oh, I'm gonna go do a double whip, and I'm like, what? 2?
The song "Floating," the floating is playing in my head while you're talking about him.
Mm-hmm.
That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and then he just decides he can do tricks both ways, and I'm like, you're insane.
He is insane.
I always laughed because I'm like, I rode with Baker. I probably rode with Baker more than I've rode with anybody in my life. Maybe Billy, but I would still. Baker is probably still right ahead of Billy. Yeah. But like he does so many tricks and I do no tricks. You know, like we go ride the trails and he do like, Baker's the kind of dude that he would do every trick he knew at the trails every day. Huh. Like he would suicide double truck every day at the trails. Wow. He would 3 double whip when he knew him every day at the trails. Dialed. Like, that's why he's so good. You know? Like, for real. And I'm like, well, fucking do a turn down.
Do you keep in touch with him?
Yeah.
What's he? Still talk. Does he still ride at all?
Yeah, Baker? He still rips.
Sick.
Yeah, he's living in Denver and kind of working with Cody Landers. They do a thing called the Jump Doctors.
Jump Doctors.
Yeah, they build bike parks.
Sick.
So yeah, he's doing that.
That's very cool. Yeah, that reminds me of another question that I had to ask you. There's some dirt park in Oregon that you're battling with the government for?
No, the government.
The president of the United States?
The president of the United States? No. Portland anything bike related is ran under a nonprofit called Northwest Trail Alliance. Okay. And it's basically just a bunch of bicycle activists that don't necessarily know anything about the world that we need them to know about to make things that are good to ride. They love bikes and they love the community and they love,
so they're fighting for like bike lanes in the streets and stuff.
No, they're fighting for bike parks, and they're fighting for more trails to be ridden in the woods, and they're fighting for everything that we want them to fight for, but they don't have a skill set or a knowledge to know what needs to be done. Or as to what level things need to be built to like be attractive to people outside of the city, to give kids that are living in the city some progression to go towards. Like, we have a black jump line right now that is literally, like I said, we ride with a 5-year-old. Yeah. And he rides that jump line. Oh shit. And we have a 6-year-old that is doing tricks. They have nowhere to progress towards, right? But to Northwest Trail Alliance and their board members, that this is like the craziest jump line they've ever seen, And I'm like, you have no, you need to look outside of your little bubble. Yeah. And you have a wealth of information within our community, with Brian Barnhart's in town, and he's like an original caddy dude, and James is another original East Coast trail dude, and we have this information of people that they should be and they kind of are, but they're at the same point they're kind of half-assing it, we're allowed right now to help rebuild this section, and we literally digging with rocks. Yikes. I'm like, fuck. So and what? I don't know. They've spent a fucking boatload of money, literal millions of dollars on a bike park that is half rideable. Damn. So it's tough because there's a lot of politics involved, and obviously I'm passionate about bike riding, and selfishly I know that I have a very small window of time that I can ride at the level that I can still currently ride at. Right. Plus I have a vested interest in my homies' kids that are I'm watching them progress, and then they get to a level and it's a hard stop because they don't have anything else that they can ride. Portland is a lot like Phoenix, and that it's growing so fast that our trails got plowed, and it's, and it's, we don't live in that world where you should have to go break the law, so to speak, to build trails that are good. Yeah. We have cities that are spending millions of dollars on bike parks and places for everyone to do this stuff. Right. They just need guidance on how and what they need.
And that's where you come in?
That's kind of why Frank brought it up? Come in. I mean, I'm just more or less frustrated with the organization and the cards that we've been dealt, and they're not in it. And I'm probably going about this the wrong way because I'm fully just throwing them under the bus and talking shit to them. But at the same point, I think they need to hear it. And I don't know how it is everywhere, but Portland's a very passive aggressive city by nature. No one really speaks the truth. Everyone's afraid to step on toes.
Yeah, they don't want to hurt people's feelings.
They don't want to hurt people's feelings, and that's all great. And they are, to their credit, they are doing a great job of getting more trails done. They kind of have this something is better than nothing mentality.
Yeah, well, why don't you like what you have?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, you could have nothing. I'm no, I could go dig in the woods like I have my whole life. I'm trying to help you do this for the community. And you're not.
Have you gone to the city council meetings or whatever?
Yeah, I go to their meetings. I go to the city council meetings. It's
dope that you're involved. I
don't know. It is, and I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I'm more detrimental than I am helpful because I am very blunt in what I'm telling them.
You gotta do what you gotta do, man. I appreciate a good blunt person.
But we are playing the game and we're figuring it out. We're rebuilding this thing now. I'll go home and kind of finish this middle section that's a bunch of green tabletops, and hopefully
what do you mean? So black better. I assume is just the highest level, green is medium, or green is beginner.
Yeah, bike parks kind of run on the same model that ski resorts run on. Yeah, right? Green is entry, blue is intermediate, black
here's our
is
bunny
expert,
hill and our double black diamond. Yeah,
exactly, double black diamond stuff. And it's interesting just how all of that stuff works. Obviously, we get a lot of you don't understand how this works. It's an insurance thing. And I'm have you been to the fucking skate parks here? Don't tell me it's an insurance thing. There's a 12.5-foot deep bowl down the street.
The skate parks are so gnarly there.
Yeah. This 3-foot tall dirt jump is fine. Yeah. I'm like, the way you guys are building them is dangerous, 100%. Like you're building them incorrectly. But
what can people do if they're listening that want to help or chip in or do something to help?
Yeah, it's just like, in Phoenix is the same as getting bikes and skate parks. It's
that was a huge battle for a while.
The most vocal you can be, and you got to kind of go through the right outlets. Like it is your city council members, it is showing up to those meetings. It's, a lot of these places are running on like the surveys now. Like I'm sure you'll see them on the internet. Like someone will post a survey like, hey, we're getting a skate park. Like we need your input. Like that input is literally the voice of anything. So like if that survey comes out and it goes, hey, what do you want to see? Like a bunch of flat rails or a bowl or a spine or dirt jumps or whatever. Like they take that into account. Like they literally tally it up. Like, well, we had 700 votes for a flat rail and 300 votes for a dirt jump, so we're putting a flat rail in. And that's literally it's it.
Yep.
That is the voice.
I got to go to one here at Union Hills a long time ago, and just to see like how kind of like bureaucratic and just government it is to get something built. I think it was part of Wheels in Motion, the Tellez's nonprofit shit. Anyway, we got time crunch. 5 minutes. So, what is your proudest clip / proudest accomplishment in your BMX career?
I don't think I have a proudest clip at all. Proudest moment is just all the experiences that I got to have, like selfishly, like that to me, I learned so much by going on all these trips. Like literally all of my best friends came from bike riding. Just BMX is a entity I owe so much of my life to. Like that's what I get out of this, and Same. Go back to the bike park stuff. Like that's what I want to like show in kids and everybody coming up is like, like you're not going to be rich from this sport, but like you could literally have the best time of your life and meet the best people you'll ever meet, and you can travel the world and you can have all these experiences because of this kid's toy, basically. Like
facts.
That's what I got most out of this.
That's pretty good. Okay. If you had to pick one trip to relive, what trip would it be?
New Zealand.
Yeah. Sick.
That fucking trip was fucked.
I've never been to New Zealand. I've been to Australia.
New Zealand is like, as a bike rider for the things that I want to ride, it's like heaven.
Oh shit. They
like
do it. They're big dirt jumpers
parks,
out there. Yeah.
Crazy trails. Like it's in paradise, like even now, like as a fishing thing, like I would go fishing, it's the most beautiful place I've ever been with the best things to ride, and all the locals are the fucking best.
That's dope.
Like it's all like a bunch of fucking trail dudes.
They send it down under, dude.
God, kill it.
I can't think of their names, but I see them on Instagram, and they're going like 3 stories high on every single dirt jump.
Yeah, dude. All the Backbone dudes are sick.
Backbone, shout out Backbone. So let's do a two different Mount Rushmore shit. Mount Rushmore of trail riders from Casey Badger himself.
Aiken, Stauffer, Punjab, Baker.
That's it.
Fucking 5. Oh, that's it?
Yeah,
only 4?
4. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Good. We're done.
There's a lot in here still, but yeah, okay, cool.
Keep going so people can look up trail riders.
Foster, BF. Nutter. I put Nutter on the list because he's a fucking ape that no one even realizes how crazy good that dude is. Clint, Maddie, like those are the modern dudes that are, the best.
Dope. Okay, and then
you can keep going for fucking ever.
Just all-time BMX riders, Mount Rushmore.
It's probably not much different.
Yeah, I know you love trails,
yeah.
But
Aiken, BF, like I feel like what BF continues to do, even as a doctor, is insane.
Longevity.
I think, as on a bike riding entity as a whole, like Edwin changed the game.
Yeah,
so I'll put Ed on the list for sure. People that I like watching ride still, like the whole Fast and Loose crew. Like I'd put
they're
Corey
so sick
on that list.
All right, boom. There's your Mount Rushmore.
Damn, cool.
Corey Walsh, Edwin, BF, and Aiken. That's
pretty sick.
That's a fun one. I love it. Okay, and then tell me about some riders that I don't know about that I should know about.
Fresh off the top of my head is REA. If you don't know REA.
REA.
Yeah.
No.
He's Ripe Life on Insta.
Ooh, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, he's on S&M. He's fucked.
Oh, I follow him already.
Yeah. He's like the best kid on the planet, anyways, and he's incredible at bike
just
riding.
one Instagram clip. I can tell.
He can ride anything, you know. Like he's a fast racer.
He's rocking a gyro and shit. That's dope.
Yeah. Dude, he's got a 2-hip pork that he built up that he literally rides like it's a modern bike.
That's dope.
Yeah.
All right, REA.
Anybody else? Just trying to think of like some Northwest
local
boys
homies,
that don't like. Draven is fucking sick.
Draven.
Yeah, I don't even know what it is. Aven.
Draven.
He's super sick.
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, really just ride with we have like a good crew of old dudes at home.
Do you know Draven's last name?
No.
Well, Draven.
Sorry, Draven.
Hi, Draven. Sorry. We'll follow. I don't know. We'll find you.
Yeah. And then I just ride with the old dudes at home too. So, and their kids.
Sick.
The kids are sick.
Yeah, kids are sick. It's like inspiring seeing young kids on bikes because it reminds you of like, oh yeah, I was that once. You know,
totally.
Like everything's so fucking magical when you're young. Like just bunny hopping. I remember my first bunny hop. I got my bike that high off the ground and I ran screaming inside to the house like, Dad, you gotta see
It's so
this.
cool because I mean, obviously I don't have kids, but like our friends' kids are so rad that I'm like, fuck, dude, kids are cool. And
kids are cool, dude.
Maybe not. But just like watching them ride bikes and like seeing them like develop as bike riders and seeing how it's like shaping their world is like pretty fucking cool to me.
And it's wild to see how fast, because your brain is a sponge when you're that young. So like you just learn shit, and it's amazing to watch. Like now that we're older, learning shit ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, it's cool. Like we went and rode this set of trails in Washington last year, and they're not huge, but they're not small either. And our little homie Max, I think Max is 11. But he went with us, and he rode every line at the trails, dude. And
Hell
I'm like,
yeah, Max!
Yeah, I like literally get more out of that probably than anything these days, you know.
Yeah, just living or just watching the youth.
Yeah.
Okay, last thing would be giving advice to young kids out there, young new BMX riders who are just getting into it and experiencing the BMX world. What's your advice generally for them?
Don't expect anything. Like I think. Take bike riding for what it is. Like if you really love bike riding and you're going to ride bikes regardless, shit will happen if it's meant to happen. You know, like you don't need to whore yourself out. You don't need to be pushy on anybody for what your goals are, so to speak. Like, I don't know. I think that's just a thing in general for me. I see kids like their whole goal is to be sponsored. And once they achieve that goal, then, you know, check, they're done. You know, like,
dude, I hate to admit that was kind of me. Dude. I got sponsored when I was 18, and I basically stopped learning tricks. Nah, that's not true. I still learn some shit, but
there's a lot of. I mean, and that's just a personality thing. It's nothing against those kids.
And you got to learn. Well, I learned the hard way, and then like you can overcome that. It's just don't. The lesson is like if you stop getting better, you're gonna stop being good. You know, at a certain point, and especially if you're getting sponsored, you have to keep on improving. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
And you know, also just have fun. Don't expect stuff. That's great advice.
Just ride your bike.
I think we can wrap it up. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I need to ask you, but I'm late to go judge this contest. So
yeah, we're blowing it.
Yeah, let's go.
All right.
Thank you, Casey.
Bye. Thank you.
Oh, see you next time, guys. Thanks for watching another episode of KANODE Knows, brought to you by Dig BMX. I appreciate every single one of you. Thank you for all the messages. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for just riding bikes and enjoying yourselves. Wow, that was corny. I'll see you next week. I don't know who's going to be on the show. We'll see.